Let's watch it. How do you do, Buckaroos? How the heck are if I do one last? I got put on my Irish one last time as we end the season. We celebrate St. Patrick's. We started celebrating St. Patrick's season the second of Valentine's Day is done with, but nevertheless, yeah, that's why I thought I'd find the background, put on the shirt one last time, do a couple Irish whiskeys with you. Had the Jameson Stout Edition, whiskey finished in craft beer barrels. It is an 80 proof whiskey, triple distilled, rich coffee, smooth chocolate, and butterscotch, they say. So let me show that to you. And I did have this one on the rocks. Or the rock, if you will. Just one rock, Tom. Just one large cube, as you can see, using my Jameson glass. Ah, I like that stout. Just hadn't had it for a while, and I found it on sale, so I thought I'd pick it up. Like I said, as we finish the season, I'll probably tuck it away. We'll think about different cocktails as the season goes forward. We'll get past Easter. Since Easter's the last day of March, I guess, this year, huh? How about that? We got April, then May. Do some spring cocktails. Looking forward to that. I like playing around with different simple syrups. I recently made lavender hibiscus. First, I did a lemon lavender, then I did a lavender hibiscus. Going into St. Patrick's Day, I did a mint. I'll experiment with spring flavors and colors and aromas. My wife's got some lavender planted over here and some rosemary, so I'll probably do a lavender rosemary next. Oh, that's nice. I'm just about there. What I like to call that sweet spot. You never want too much ice or too much water to get in your whiskey, but you get that right amount of cold. You get that right amount of melt off, and I call it the sweet spot because it really brings those sugars right to the surface, and you'll taste that whiskey as sweet as it's ever going to get. And we are right at it there, where I feel those stout cask notes that they talked about. Um, they say coffee, smooth chocolate, and butterscotch, but I want to put a finer point on it. So you're going to find a lot of vanilla in here. Let's get a hint of just a malted dark chocolate note in there. Nice oaky finish. Stuff is just gorgeous. I'm going to wrap this up and get to my neat whiskey because, again, I don't want too much water to get in here. And that's our take the edge off the day whiskey right there. Now we're going to relax, right? Going to take it down a notch and drink the good stuff, if you will. The Tyrconnell double distilled. Yeah, most Irish is single or triple distilled. I'm not really sure. This one's only double, but anyway, a single malt Irish. It's a 10-year-old Irish. Goodness, it's a 10-year-old Irish whiskey that's port cask finished. There we go. I gave myself a nice healthy pour here in the fancy glass. Oh man, this is definitely a neat whiskey, right? You really got to drink this one neat, or you're going to lose something. Oh, fuck nuggets. As always, have any questions or comments, please put it up on the screen. I will answer everything. Almost, and she'll be in an ass hat, then I won't. Jason, how are you, buddy? I'm going to post your comment there. How you doing, Slancha? And if you like Jason, tell me what you're drinking this evening. It is, yeah. So I don't know exactly what it's designed for, in all honesty, but it is nice for neat drinking whiskey. Use it for my top shelf whiskeys, right? My 10-year-old single malt, if you will. I think I've also used this glass to make for Manhattans as well. Oh yeah, I get it. I've been there. It's been I've had a rough allergy season, and I've had some issues. My voice keeps going in and out, and I've had this cough that I think I've finally gotten over. Then it comes back. Post your other comments there. So yeah, this is all I'm having tonight because I do work tomorrow. However, I mean I don't have to go in until 3:30. So, but I wanted to come home. Got home from work. I have a little bit of Irish. I gotta do Irish one last time as the season ends. Wow, this stuff is so gorgeous. Yeah, I mean it's a sipper. It's not one you really want to drink fast. It's just a gorgeous whiskey. This 10-year-old single malt Irish whiskey is initially matured in American oak, then finished in port casks to impart further depth and flavor. The extra aging and port cask finish produces a silky sweet taste of rich fruits, honey, and spice. Yeah, it really does. With an elegant, lingering oak finish. So honey and spice. Yeah. So one thing I know is, Irish typically you might get those honey and heather like notes. They don't say dark fruits per se, but that's typically what you get. But they say rich fruits, which is what port wine is, a port cask will impart. Oh, mercy. It just lays soft on your palate. I mean, it's just luxurious. It's just a beautifully done whiskey. Spice, I mentioned spice. It almost feels like just a hint of, it's typically cinnamon will come to mind, allspice, sometimes ginger, clove. Here, oddly enough, I get just a hint of black pepper. Honey, they mention honey. You're definitely going to feel those honey notes. It doesn't feel, sweet. It doesn't, you don't get those bourbon like, molasses notes, right? It's a lighter sweetness. Fruits. I'm feeling some stone fruit. Actually, I'm feeling some plum. I feel some dark cherry notes in there as well. But I'm also feeling some apricot. Typically, it leans more towards darker fruits. But yeah, I feel like I mentioned stone fruits, feeling some plum, but feeling some apricot in there as well. Oh, this stuff is just beautiful. I love this whiskey, man. silky sweet taste of rich fruits, honey, and spice with an elegant, lingering oak finish. Yeah, and that's what's gorgeous here, is the oak doesn't hit you hard, right? You do feel it very soft at the end, but then it just kind of stays with you a second. And kind of helps dry everything up, clean everything up. Oh, this is absolutely gorgeous. You might find some raisin in there as well. That certainly wouldn't be unusual. But I was getting more stone fruit than typical. The plum, typically it's an overripe plum, but here I'm just feeling plum. And then some apricot notes. That's very nice, man. Very nice, very nice, man. Anyways, I digress. Mercy. Picked up an extra work day this week, so that was kind of worked out. Kind of wanted the day off, but then it kind of also worked out nice because it'll make that check about right, right where I need it to be, man. uh, at various stages of my life, I've had an occupation that I really loved, and sometimes it was I just did something well because I it's what I lucked into at one point, and then I got good at it, so that's what I felt like I had to stay with. I mean, at one point I thought there's nothing else I can do but retail because I've done it for so long. There's nothing else I'm qualified for, right? And you kind of reinvent yourself and or try to. You just sometimes you just got to take a chance and see if somebody sees something in you. And that's how I ended up at Saddlebop Brewing back in 2016 because I took a shot in the dark. I applied to every brewery here in town, and nobody would even give me a second look. They all knew my beer qualifications, but I wasn't what they were looking for. But I found a bit of a rebel brewery in Spraydale that was willing to give an old guy a shot. And the funny thing is, I'd go to work and everybody was, I mean, just a great crew there. But then I would meet other sales reps from the other breweries out at the stops I'd make, and they'd all be at least a decade, in most cases, 2 decades younger than I was. So okay, and now I understand why nobody was hiring me. But this one rebel brewery that was willing to take a chance on an old guy. And even though I talked about beer a long time and had done beer videos, I'd really been into the craft beer scene for a long time. That was actually my first job working with craft beer. Oh man, this stuff is just insanely good. Plum. The more I get into this, the more I'm feeling those plum and stone fruit notes. I'm surprised at the amount of apricot I'm picking up. I sort of think, well, maybe it was just initial impression, right? But no, it's in here. Well, let me walk that back just a tad. It is in here for me. I always tell people you get what you get because there are some folks that are so absolute. Well, this is what you're going to get. You're going to taste this, and this, and that's it. And what I tell people is you're only going to taste what you know. If that expert tells you you're going to taste date and fig, you're not going to know that if you don't eat dates and figs. So you're going to interpret it as something else, and you're not wrong. What you feel that as is what it is. That's how it tastes to you. So you're not wrong. That's when I hate when pretentious, so-called reviewers want to say, "Oh, this is all you're going to taste. It has to be just like this, or you're wrong." Oh, but if you don't eat those things, if you don't taste those things, you're not gonna you're not gonna feel it that way. For me, I use a lot of spices. I cook with a lot of spices. I use a lot of herbs and spices in making my simple syrups and various other things, various marinades. So I may pick up herbs and spices that others might, but there's a lot of other fruits I don't eat. So I'm not going to taste those things that others might. So are you wrong for not picking up those spice notes that I get? No. Am I wrong for getting them? No, because that's how I'm interpreting that. Those things aren't actually in the product. Your brain is interpreting things. And if that's how you interpret it, you are not wrong. It is how you feel it. I have actually. Sorry, I missed your comment there earlier, Jason. I have, and quite frankly, I like them, especially for the price point. I've also had some from some of the members mark products from Sam's. I feel like they're very equal. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Most of those products are great, great cocktail or mixing whiskeys. And most of them are made by all of the names you know, right? It's exactly the same whiskey as something else for a lot less because it's got that Costco or Members Mark name on it. I love that. Uh, I'm really enamored by this particular single malt. I love single malt whiskeys. I particularly love Irish single malt whiskeys more so than Scotch. They're typically more subtle than their Scotch counterparts. But I think that's partly why I liked it, because you got to pay attention to those notes. Just because something is more subtle doesn't mean it has less flavor. It means you got to really look for it. All right. Steak. I love steak, but I also love lobster. Lobster is more subtle than steak. So is steak better than lobster? Well, it kind of depends on your opinion of both foods, but I love both of them. So one is not necessarily better than the other, but I have to be patient for the flavor of the lobster. It's a more subtle food. And same thing exists with whiskey. It's a little more Irish whiskey's more subtle, so you gotta be paying attention. If your palate is dulled, you're not going to feel those subtleties. Again, I want to go to the honey-like sweetness they refer to in their description. I'm also going to mention the honey heather-like notes, but I do like it because this particular single malt whiskey isn't very sweet. What Irish whiskey is kind of known for being sweet, right? This one isn't as sweet as a lot of them are, and maybe that's why I'm enjoying it as much as I am, because you got that very subtle honey-like sweetness without being hit over the head. Those nice fruit-like notes. Again, though, that slight lingering oak, but that doesn't start heavy. It's just right there, just enough to clean everything up, and then it just slowly fades away. So there you go. Anyways, I digress. I digress, man. As we wrap up this Thursday, I am Tom, the Whiskey Whispers. We wrap up the St. Patrick's season, if you will. For me, it's a season. It's not just a day; it's a season. Lasts about 6 weeks in my neck of the woods. Right from the day after Valentine's Day right up until the end of March. We celebrate the whole season, man. It's not just one day here at the Mulva Hill House. Anyway, I once again, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all around good guys lunch. I forget how much I like this whiskey until I have this whiskey. Oh my God, that's gorgeous. That's just beautiful, man. Yeah, you're beautiful, babe. Don't ever change. Anyway, so let's segue to the end. Have a good one. Slunch you.